All right, guys. So this weekend we have Jack Hermanson and Joe Pyfer. We have a relatively not unpopular, but just not a very well known or big name ranked fighter, more of a gatekeeper in Jack Hermanson. And you have unranked Joe Pyfer. And given that, it's a gatekeeper against an unranked guy in a main event, it feels a little bit forced. The same way that Abus Magomedov being unranked and getting a main event against Sean Strickland at the Apex felt a little bit forced. They're trying to get some more guys up at the top of middleweight to get some more contenders that haven't fought Izzy or haven't fought Rob Whittaker and so on. I understand that there is a need for main events given the ESPN deal that they've had for the last few years. They've been doing like 45 cards a year, something like that. And ESPN wants content. They want to push it out. And so you get a little bit of these kind of like fast food cards, and where you have people that are ranked between like 10 and 15 getting main events. Like I think the last one was 8 and 11 with Dolidze and Imavov. And that was a great fight. I was really entertained with that card. And Moicano versus Drew Dober was a good co-main event. And I also understand that the UFC wants to build these prelim fighters, and, they're trying to be not just big names, but they're trying to have a deep roster. There's like 700 people on the roster, but I'm starting to get tired. I feel like these Apex cards are just stale. I mean, Moicano said last week that nobody even likes fighting at the Apex. I know that it was a COVID necessity to have their own facility where they could put on fights that didn't have fans. It was just the staff and their team, the fighters and their teams, and Dana and doctors and officials, and just the people that were necessary for the events to take place. So I understand why they were happening during COVID, and I understand why they're happening now, given the ESPN deal and the need for consistent content from the UFC. But I'm starting to feel like they're being lazy with these Apex fight nights, getting like Holly Holm fight night main events or unranked guys in main events. It just kind of like dilutes what a main event really means. I really liked the fight nights where they stack them, where, and I'm just being a little bit spoiled because the UFC does put on amazing fights all the time. But Max Holloway and Korean Zombie in Singapore, awesome event. The Austin event that just happened with Beneil Dariush and Arman Sarukian, awesome. Corey Sandhagen and Rob Font in Nashville, I think. Ilya Taporia and Josh Emmett in Florida. Like, these are fun fight night main events. And when you have fans there, there's obviously more revenue with being able to actually sell out an arena with a gate and all of that. And I'm just feeling like the UFC is like being a little bit lazy when it comes to booking just Apex after Apex after Apex, pay-per-view, Apex. I just think that they could do better than this. Now, I know that the UFC's structure is worry about the bottom line. The same reason that Dana doesn't want to bring up the base pay for fighters. I think the base pay is $12,000 to win, $12,000 to show. And Dana has gone on record to say that the fighter pay will not improve as long as he's around. So it's obvious that they have a quota that they want to stick to. They have a status quo that they're not going to, sway from. And I think the same thing goes with, Conor McGregor's comeback taking so long to happen, is that they probably want to pay less than they were 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 6-7 years ago when Conor was getting big numbers, or his biggest numbers, I should say. He still does big numbers. But I feel like the UFC, now that they're so established in the mainstream and they have such a wide acceptance, in sports, it's not so taboo like it was 10 or 15 years ago. I feel that they've accepted their place as one of the other major sports, and they're not trying to like push the envelope and grow as much. Like we are getting some big cards. 299 is a big card, but even with 300, it feels like maybe my 300 expectations were unrealistic, but even that feels like Dana kind of blueballed us a little bit, hyped us up with, oh my God, you're not going to be able to believe the first fight of the night. And it's like Jessica Andrade. I feel that the UFC is over-promising, under-delivering in some ways. I understand it's a transitional phase as well. They're trying to build up some new stars, but I really feel that these Apex fight nights could be done differently, even if they were in smaller arenas, but they were in arenas somewhere. It would be a lot of fun. I mean, I live in the LA area. I would love to be able to go to a fight night at Staples Center or San Diego like they had a couple years ago. But the Apex, you can't even get in. You got to pay like $1,200 for a VIP package, or you have to be like a celebrity and get invited. So I just wish that there was more accessibility for fans, especially with how crazy the pay-per-view ticket prices are, where people have to pay like a minimum of $400 or $500 to sit in the nosebleeds at a pay-per-view. I feel like the UFC could do a lot better by the fans by having more frequent events that are not at the Apex, and the fighters would enjoy that too. The fighters always feed off of the crowd, and many fighters have said that they would much rather fight in front of a crowd than the Apex. Not really a huge overarching point other than I feel they should do more crowds and less Apex events. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. This is something I've been thinking about lately with these unranked main events, and it just feels a little lazy and a little forced. And so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you cool with the Apex events continuing, or do you want to see more crowds with more accessibility for the fans that don't want to pay $400 or $500 to see a pay-per-view live? So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you like this video and you want more content just like this, click that subscribe button down below. If you want more content from me, go check out my weekly comedy podcast, the Hissyfit podcast, and go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.